You know, landing an airplane is probably one of the toughest skills in all of aviation. But landing it on a really short, unforgiving runway, well, that's a straight-up art form. So today, we're going to break down how pilots master this art, and we'll be using one of the most iconic training planes ever built to do it. All right, let's jump in the cockpit and see how it all works. Okay, just for a second, put yourself right here, in the pilot's seat. You're on final approach. That little grass strip up ahead, it's way shorter than you're used to. You've got trees looming at the start of it, and there is absolutely zero room for overshooting. Your heart's probably thumping a bit, right? This isn't just another landing. This is a test of pure, unadulterated precision. So, what do you do if your plane doesn't even have flaps to help you get down steeply? I mean, how in the world do you drop into a tiny field like that without picking up a ton of dangerous speed? It sounds kind of impossible, but for pilots who fly these classic airplanes, it's just another day at the office. It's a fundamental skill.
Yeah, a short field landing isn't just about slamming on the brakes when you touch down. Not at all. It's about a perfectly stable approach, touching down at the slowest possible speed and hitting a very specific spot. The whole goal is to use as little runway as possible without, landing in the trees before you get there. It's this delicate dance of energy management.
And really, there is no better teacher for this lesson than the legendary Piper J3 Cub. This plane first flew way back in the 1930s, and its simple, lightweight, and forgiving design made it the absolute cornerstone of general aviation. It's pretty much the perfect platform for mastering the fundamentals of flight. Just how influential was this little plane? Well, get this. Between 1938 and 1947 alone, Piper built over 20,000 of them. This simple, yellow airplane literally taught an entire generation of pilots how to fly, and the lessons it teaches about precision and control, they're just as important today as they were back then.
And if you look at these specs, this is where the Cub's personality really comes out. That engine, just 65 horsepower. I mean, your riding lawnmower might have more. And check out the stall speed, only 38 miles per hour. This thing is not a powerhouse. It's a slow, stable, high-lift machine. It's designed for control, not for speed. It's built to fly slow, which is exactly what you need for a short field.
Now, to really get why the J3 presents such a fun challenge, let's compare it to its younger, beefier cousin, the Super Cub. The Super Cub is a backcountry monster. It's got a bigger engine, a stronger frame, and, this is the big one, it has wing flaps. Flaps let a pilot create a ton more drag and lift, which means they can make a really steep descent without gaining speed. The classic J3 has none. So how does a J3 pilot solve that problem? So you're on approach in your J3 and you realize, uh-oh, I'm a little too high. Without flaps, your only real option to lose altitude is to point the nose down, but that builds up speed, which is the last thing you want right now. The solution is this. Well, it's this elegant, old-school maneuver. It's called the forward slip. What you do is use opposite rudder and aileron to intentionally uncoordinate the airplane. You're basically presenting the side of the plane to the wind. This creates a massive amount of drag. It turns this sleek little aircraft into, well, something more like a brick. It lets you drop like a stone while your nose is still pointed right where you want to go.
And you can see exactly what's going on in this picture. The pilot is banking the plane, let's say left wing down, but at the same time, they're pushing the opposite rudder pedal, the right rudder, to keep the nose pointed at the runway. The plane is literally flying sideways through the air, just scrubbing off all that extra altitude without speeding up. It's so cool. Now, instructors teach this very, very carefully. First, you get into your normal, stable glide. Then you cross the controls. But the really crucial part is step 3. During a slip, the airspeed indicator goes haywire. It's totally unreliable, so pilots learn to just ignore it. Instead, they hold the proper nose attitude. That's the plane's angle against the horizon to keep their target speed. It's all about flying by feel and by what you see out the window.
So, how does this all tie in to the final approach? Well, whether you're using a slip in a J3 or you're using flaps in a Super Cub, the fundamental idea is exactly the same. It's all about precise energy management. You have to show up over the runway threshold with exactly the right amount of altitude and speed. No more, no less. So what's the pilot's checklist here? First, from the very beginning, you need to have zero doubt that you're going to make it. You need a solid plan. Second, you want to touch down as close to the start of the runway as you safely can. Third, you're not just aiming for the runway in general. You're aiming for a specific spot. And finally, the ultimate goal, touching down at the absolute minimum controllable airspeed.
This is just a fantastic piece of wisdom from the pilot Bud Davidson. So how do you know if you're on the right path? Simple. You pick your aiming point on the runway and you watch it. If that spot stays perfectly still in your windshield, you are on a perfect glide path to hit it. If it starts moving up the windshield, you're coming in low. If it moves down, you're too high. It's that simple and that precise.
And of course, speed is everything. A good rule of thumb is to fly your final approach at about 1.3 times the plane's stall speed. So for a J3 Cub, we're talking a leisurely 45 to 50 miles per hour. And here's the key takeaway for any pilot. You use your pitch, the stick, to lock in that airspeed. And you use your power, or a slip, to control how fast you're coming down and keep that aim point rock steady in the windshield.
Okay, so you've managed your energy perfectly. You're coming over the runway threshold, you're slow, and you're right on target. Now it's time to bring it all home for the touchdown and the rollout.
This sequence is critical. The ideal touchdown is what's called a three-point landing, where both main wheels and the little tail wheel touch down at the exact same instant at the slowest possible speed. The second you're on the ground, you pull that control stick all the way back into your lap. This is called aerodynamic braking. It keeps the tail down and uses the whole wing as a giant air brake. Only then, once you've done that, do you smoothly get on the actual brakes to come to a full stop.
Under normal conditions, the official number for a J3 Cub's landing roll is a really impressive 290 feet. I mean, that's less than a football field. But with perfect technique, a really good pilot can do even better.
Get this. In ideal conditions, with a skilled pilot who absolutely nails the approach speed and the touchdown, that landing roll can be as short as 90 feet. That is just incredible performance, and it's a direct result of mastering every single principle we've just talked about.
So, in the end, a perfect short field landing isn't about having the newest, fanciest airplane. It's about a deep, fundamental understanding of energy, of aerodynamics, and of precision. It's a great reminder that sometimes the most basic skills are actually the most impressive, which kind of makes you wonder, what other complex skills in our lives really just boil down to mastering the basics?